undisclosed time not to be recorded. It is not true that Abraham Lincoln was president, however. So I admire what you're doing, and I hope that you have chapters in each of the 21 counties. Let me know what I can do to be involved in that. Let me say, I think that this is the most critical election since 1980. And in 1980, this is maybe before your parents, but in 1980, we had a failed presidency. Not a bad person, but just a failed presidency. Ronald Reagan became our candidate. And the polls showed that Ronald Reagan might win or might not win. And by election day, he won quite easily by 10 points. And there was a third party in that race, John Anderson. And I think the Anderson vote was half to Jimmy Carter and half to Ronald Reagan. In other words, Reagan would have won a two-person race quite easily as well. And this is a failed presidency, in my opinion. This presidency was conceived in hope and change, and those were the terms that many of the American people felt to move the country forward. And instead, we're stuck in a terrible economic situation. Unemployment is really much higher than the 8% that is announced, because so many Americans are underemployed, and many other Americans have given up looking for work. So if you really calculated it based upon all of those who want to work, the unemployment rate would be up to 6%. And that is simply no way to move the nation forward. I had endorsed Mitt Romney in 2008 when he was by far the best candidate in that cycle. He came in second in race in effect, and this year he's done a terrific job. As you know, Governor Christie endorsed him early. That will be very helpful to New Jersey. And I endorsed him as Governor Christie endorsed him. And I'm quite excited about the Romney candidacy. And your guess is as good as mine as to who the vice presidential running mate might be. As a student of American history, no Republican has ever been elected president without carrying Ohio. And also, we have to carry Florida. So I would imagine the vice presidential candidate will come either from Ohio or Florida. And it's interesting to note that the state that has been right the longest period of time in the state of our history has been Ohio. The last time that Ohio was wrong in a presidential election was in 1960. Now, some of us believe actually it was right in 1960. That's another topic. And then the state that has the next longest record is Nevada. The last time it was wrong was 1976. Nevada is going to be heavily contested this year. And Governor Romney has some advantages in Nevada that other candidates may not have. One of the advantages is there is a significant Mormon population in Nevada. Not only in Utah, but in quite a few of the Rocky Mountain western states. And then the state that has been third in being right in presidential elections is Florida. Last time it was wrong was in 1992. So I think this gives us an indication of where the vice presidential running mate might be selected. The Democrats would have to gain 25 seats to gain control of the House of Representatives, and that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because of reapportionment. We're going to pick up a couple seats in North Carolina. We may lose a seat or two in Illinois and maybe a seat or two in California. But if you look at the nation as a whole, reapportionment has not helped the Democrats as they thought it would. So I'm confident that we will retain control of the House. The Senate is a situation that could go either way. We have 47, the Democrats have 53. Important races include the ones in Missouri, in Ohio, in Michigan, in Montana, And might I respectfully suggest that Joe Carrillo, my very close friend, is going to do extremely well. Yes. Bob Menendez is not classically popular in the way an incumbent should be. And so I think we have a chance here in New Jersey. The last time we elected a Republican to the United States Senate in New Jersey was Cliff Case. That was a long time ago, 1972, and actually he's running for his 4th term. Last time we initially elected a United States Senator in New Jersey was 1954. Not even I remember that election. Do you agree with me, 2012 is the year we in New Jersey should elect a Republican to the United States?
Yes, absolutely.
At the House level, we go from 13 members to 12 members. That means, counterintuitively, that the 12 of us whose districts have been retained all have to have districts grow in size. And I go from 54 municipalities to 75 municipalities. I lose Woodbridge Township, which has 100,000 people, and South Plainfield and the northern half of Edison. And because they are relatively large municipalities, particularly Woodbridge, I have to gain a lot of small municipalities, and that includes towns here in western Morristown, Roxbury, and Mount Olive, and Dover, and Wharton, and Washington Township, quite a few municipalities in western Morris. Let me say that Rodney Frelinghuysen is my closest friend in Congress. We served together in the state legislature when he chaired the Assembly Budget Committee, a committee I later chaired. I have known him virtually my whole life. He does a terrific job. And for those of you who are from Morris County and are currently represented by Rodney, I have big shoes to fill. His voting record and mine are virtually identical, and I certainly want to represent western Morris County in the tradition of Rodney and of his father before him, Peter Frelinghuysen. Many thought that with our reduction from 13 to 12 members, the district would go 7 Democrats and 5 Republicans. That's not going to be the case. It's going to be 6 Republicans and 6 Democrats. So this is yet another reason why we're going to continue to control the House nationally. We are not, in effect, losing a seat here in New Jersey. Currently involved in a primary. I have an opponent who ran against me 2 years ago. Let me say that I am the candidate who has always supported the Republican primary winner. Support whoever wins. That was not the view of the other fellow 2 years ago. I thought there was a distinction between me and my Democratic opponent in the autumn, a man named Potasnik, who was among the most liberal candidates running for office anywhere in the United States. I certainly could have decided between the two of us. Some say they are Reagan Republicans. I encourage you to look at voting records. I actually voted for Ronald Reagan in both 1980 and 1984. I took the time to vote. I think it's important to vote, and I've always voted. I didn't vote when I was 18, because when I was 18, 18-year-olds couldn't vote in this country. But when I was 19, 18-year-olds got the right to vote in this country, and I immediately registered in Flemington, the county seat of Hunterdon County, where my family has always lived. And I have voted in every Republican primary and in every general election since I was 19. Again, that's a state secret as to what year that was. The critical issue confronting this country is the economy, and then beyond that, levels of federal spending, the overall debt, and annual deficits. I proudly voted for the Ryan budget. Paul Ryan is a friend of mine. Again, I currently have a primary opponent who calls the Ryan budget timid. There's nothing timid about Paul Ryan, ladies and gentlemen. And do you agree with me that he's one of the great young leaders in the United States?
Yep.
And I told Paul Ryan on the floor of the House, I think it was Wednesday evening, Paul, if Chris Christie doesn't get to be the vice presidential running mate, I'm rooting for you. I think he would be a terrific vice presidential running mate. What we have to do is get entitlement programs under control. This includes Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. And I have suggestions about all three. Medicaid should be block granted. Governor Christie favors that. Most governors across the nation favor that. Giving monies to state capitals, and then they match the funds in some way, depending upon the affluence of the state. That depends on what the match is. And then let legislative chambers and governors decide how to proceed. I think that's an excellent example of federalism. So we need to block grant Medicaid, number one. Number two, on Social Security. For young people, for people your age, I would imagine the retirement age would be increased from the current age 67, perhaps to age 69 or so. We have a 25-year-old. I see nothing wrong with telling young people, so long as we give you 35 years advance notice, that your retirement age might be slightly higher than is currently the case. When Social Security was enacted in 1935, the age expectancy in this country was dramatically less than it is today. And even when Medicare was enacted in 1965, the age expectancy had increased, but it was by no means where it is today. So that is what I would do with Social Security, and probably with Medicare as well. Congressman Ryan is working with a Democratic member of the Senate, Senator Wyden, on the Medicare issue, so there is some bipartisan cooperation on that. Internationally, we live in a dangerous world. Before voting for the Defense Authorization Act, I read classified information on where we are across the globe. We have 100,000 brave troops in Afghanistan, young men and women your age or a little older. We should thank them, and we should thank all of our veterans across the years, number one. Number two, it's also dangerous in neighboring Pakistan, where Al-Qaeda exists. It's also dangerous in Yemen. Yemen is an area not well known in this country, but it is a source of terrorism, as well as the challenges that exist in North Korea. It tried to launch a missile that did not work, but that doesn't mean it might not work in the future. That would be destabilizing to the North Pacific, and China should be involved in calming down the North Koreans. In Syria, a terrible dictator is killing his own people to stay in power. And then perhaps the hottest spot in the world is Iran. If Iran were to develop a nuclear weapon, it would be an existential event that would be harmful not only to our ally Israel, but to neighboring Arab states, particularly Saudi Arabia, in the Sunni-Shia divide. The Saudis are obviously Sunni, the Iranians are Shia, and I favor strongest sanctions possible, and I would take no option off the table. And the president inappropriately chose not to place sanctions in place earlier in his tenure, and I've been critical of that. Let me say, if the Iranians were to close the Strait of Hormuz, gasoline prices in this country would rise to between $5 and $6 a gallon overnight. And we would have to take military action, in my judgment, or at least we shouldn't take that off the table. And regarding energy independence, we need greater energy resources from this country, including the building of the Keystone Pipeline. Here in the United States of America. I am optimistic about 2012. I'm optimistic that we're going to retain the House, have a fighting chance of gaining the Senate, and I am optimistic that Mitt Romney will be elected president. The elite media will be against him, but the elite media was against Ronald Reagan. The elite media are always against Republican candidates. I think the American people are most interested in the economy, in jobs, and I think on those critical issues we have a much better message, as we have a much better message on the fundamental issue confronting this country, the fact that we should be judged, each of us, based upon the content of our character, that we believe in American exceptionalism. We believe that this country is heaven rescued. That is a phrase from one of the subsequent stanzas of the Star-Spangled Banner. I'm pleased that you are involved as young Republicans, as I once was, and I believe you have chosen the party of the future, the party that will continue to make America the greatest country in the world.